Welcome back to MMA Live, powered by Victory Motorcycles.
On their way to success, every fighter has to clear their own personal hurdles. In the case of Alexis Villa, those obstructions have been steeper than most. The 41-year-old Cuban exile took the road less traveled to becoming the Bellator bantamweight division runner-up last year. Now Villa is back, eager to prove that he still has it in him to win. Jay Harris brings us his story.
Alexis Villa's interest for combat sports started as a kid. He eventually switched from boxing to freestyle wrestling and won a bronze medal at the 1996 Olympic Games. 1 year later, he defected from Cuba.
Ante todo, lo que buscaba era la libertad. Lo mío era resolver la situación para buscar dinero para mi familia también.
His life as a competitive freestyle wrestler was over.
Uno cuando llega a los Estados Unidos llega con muchos planes, pero después se encuentra aquí cuando llega que la vida es otra.
For the next 7 years, Villa held odd jobs, intermittently coaching and teaching wrestling.
Pensaba que iba a ser de otra manera, como te contaban en las películas, que donde quiera que te encontrabas dinero y todas esas cosas.
On July 4th of 2004, Villa's SUV crashed into one of the terminals of the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport.
We just heard, the news, boom!
Se me cayó el celular y cuando lo fui a recoger, y lo que pasó, en vez de tocar el freno, toqué el acelerador y entonces el carro se fue contra el cristal. Era una propiedad del gobierno, entonces me acusaron federal y yo estaba discutiendo porque yo dije, no, eso fue un accidente. Y entonces ellos decían que no, que yo lo había planificado.
During the legal process, Villa agreed to plead guilty and received a reduced sentence of 30 months in prison. Once again, his life took a sharp turn and a much darker period began.
Bueno, para mí en todos los momentos que estuve ahí fueron duros. Yo creo que los momentos más duros fue al principio. Después ya como que te vas adaptando.
In prison, Villa befriended a fellow inmate who was the father of MMA fighter Jorge Masvidal. He began contemplating a professional career in mixed martial arts. Once out of prison in 2007, 36-year-old Villa reached out to Masvidal's former trainer. His first MMA fight took place that same year. 2 years later, in September of 2009, he won a title in the 125-pound division.
Alexis the Exorcist Villa!
At 40 years of age and with an 11-0 record, Villa stepped into the cage this past November to fight Eduardo Dantas in the Bellator 135-pound division final. It was the first defeat in his MMA career. In spite of his age, Villa says he isn't thinking of retiring just yet, and that he's preparing for his next fight against Luis Vital Nogueira on April 13th.
Todo es como una meta, todo afuera y adentro del ring es lo que tú te propongas. Quería ser campeón del MMA, por lo menos tengo una faja en 125 y ahora he demostrado que puedo pelear con cualquiera, que peleé en 135 y puedo fajarme bien de nuevo y le gusta al público, que es lo importante.
Villa will fight Luis Nogueira Friday night at Bellator 65 in the bantamweight quarterfinal. Now, last week at Bellator 64, welterweight champ Ben Askren improved to 10-0 with his victory over Douglas Lima. Askren dominated Lima, repeatedly taking him down en route to a 50-45 unanimous decision. As we were expecting with his wrestling credentials, Jorge, he was all over Lima.
Well, yeah, he looked good wrestling. Kept on taking the takedowns down and won a safe fight.
If you're a fighter and you're facing a guy like this, how do you defend that? How would Lima have been better served to kind of prevent Askren to dominate the way he did?
If I were fighting Ben Askren, I would severely work on my jiu-jitsu and looking to reverse him or get back up. I know I'm not going to out-wrestle him. He'll more than likely take me down. I have to look for ways to defeat him now. Either get back on my feet where I can punish him or submit him.
Okay, time for the long road to victory, and certainly Askren, if he wants to excel at this sport, he'll fight guys that'll be able to combat him a little bit more down the road. Now, before he became Bellator champion, Askren, a standout amateur wrestler, winning 2 NCAA titles at Missouri and earned a spot at the Beijing Olympics in 2008. Trained by former world kickboxing champ Duke Roufus, Askren has become one of the best 170-pounders, winning the Bellator title in the fall of 2010 and has defended that belt twice. And from a viewer's perspective, obviously, Franklin, this is a guy who's got it all as a wrestler. He's a champ. He's a guy that the organization's really behind. But it's tough to sit through 5 rounds of 5 minutes of that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And since that, and look, not to take anything away from Ben Askren, he did what he needed to do to win. He stayed to his strengths. But the rounds were predictable. You knew he was going to take the fight to the ground. That's what he did. But even there, while on the ground, he didn't try to finish. His punches weren't strong. He did more pity-pat. And after a while, fans want to see action. That's what they come there to see. They don't come to see a wrestling match. They come to see mixed martial arts.
And this is going to be a problem for Askren down the road if he doesn't adapt. Obviously, it was a big draw. They had a good crowd there in Canada, good TV numbers, but that might change as Askren doesn't adapt his style.
You're in the business of entertaining. I mean, you might be a fighter and you're winning this way, but the bottom line is people are paying good money to watch you fight, and you have to entertain them. Ben Askren right now, Askren is a one-trick pony, and sooner or later that will be solved. He really needs to take a page from Josh Koscheck's book and start developing other aspects of his game, such as his striking or his jiu-jitsu. Matt Hughes is another guy who was just known as a great wrestler, turned into an excellent submission guy, choking out Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts. So these are things that Ben Askren can definitely do to improve his game and become more marketable. I mean, this is a guy who's a champion over there, and people don't want to see him fight, and that isn't good for business.
Yeah, Bellator's invested a lot in him, and they'll hope to see more dividends. They want to see people come through the gates to see the undefeated champion Askren.